Wangechi Wahome is my name. It's what I prefer to go to. I'm an African by heart.
Yes.
I'm a lawyer by profession, and I've been a lawyer for at least a decade plus. And the third hat that I wear is I'm a farmer. I think that's what calms me down.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm really excited for the day we have a startup bill.
Yeah.
And we can firmly say this is ours, of course, with it. Whichever fence you lie on, how good is it and how bad is it, I think we are ripe for it. And we need to remind ourselves that we're the Silicon Savannah and we need to act like it. I don't know about, I do know in life, you need to have something that motivates you.
Yeah.
For me, I think my biggest motivating factor at that point in time is I'm on my final year in uni. And so if I don't get a job at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to the village.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I need to make sure that I stick around, but at the same time, I grow and progress.
Welcome to Inflection Point. My name is Yvonne Njeri, and the space I'm in is around growth, commercialization, and scale of products, mostly digital products or tech products. And as I've been doing this work for the past many years, I've talked to so many entrepreneurs and so many startups, and I've come to realize that the more successful ones are the ones who are able to change, to pivot, and to inflect whatever they're doing into a new trajectory. So I thought, let me bring these stories to you so that it may hopefully inspire you in some way or encourage you in your journey wherever you are as a startup or as an entrepreneur or just as an individual, and you're seeing, the way that you're going in terms of scaling your products, you need a new trajectory. These conversations will be for you. And today, my very first guest that I have with me, her name is Wangechi, and I want her to introduce herself and talk a little bit about what she does, and then we'll get into the meat of this. Welcome.
All right. Thank you so much, Yvonne. And thank you for allowing me be here and be one of your first guests.
Yeah.
And I like the discussion about change because my entire life is about change anyway.
Wow.
So Wangechi Wahome is my name. It's what I prefer to go to. I'm an African by heart.
Yes.
I'm a lawyer by profession, and I've been a lawyer for at least a decade plus. Now, I've been in the legal tech space, which is now what I do for, again, around that time. Mm-hmm. And I'm an advocate and a partner at a firm called Cecilia & Associates. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Anza Village. Anza is a startup ecosystem enabler that is geared towards creating a pathway and a connecting conduit for startups who are looking to get funding, policy support, and any other level of support, including government relations and just knowledge. And the third hat that I wear is I'm a farmer. I think that's what calms me down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. So I met Wangechi in the past, I think 1 year or so, with some of the work we've been doing with the Kenya Innovation Agency, trying to help innovations at universities commercialize and scale. So there are quite a number of startups. And I think what fascinated me about Wangechi and her story is how she started Anza Village and where she is now. So I want to ask you, if you don't mind sharing, what made you think about starting Anza Village? Like, what was your mindset at that point when you were starting off?
Well, so allow me to do a bit of backstory.
Sure. Context is always good.
So I started my career as an intern in Safaricom. And at that point in time, I think that was around 2014, Safaricom was still is the biggest organization. Mm-hmm. But the energy and the interest of getting into Safaricom was unlike no other. And I started when I was in uni. So it was a good space. And within that space, I got romanticized by the technology that was going around me because whoever I was supporting the tech teams, enterprise teams, and I was learning so much within my team. Of course, that was the time we were discussing about skills tunes and discussions with Camp and Prisk, and my interest for IP is massive. And I had a very good stint, and I sat at the same floor with the Directorate of Innovation and Strategy. Mm-hmm. And obviously that's being in close proximity for at least 2 years will trigger something, right?
Yeah.
Of course, I moved on, and I did a bit of a stint at IBC with election petitions, and my role was on tech. Then moved on to a career as a lawyer, and my career as a lawyer was good for a bit, and I realized it didn't give me what I was looking for, which was impact, because I started from a business that believed in transforming lives. And here I am, what I'm doing didn't feel like I was transforming lives. It felt I'm doing good for corporate because that's my role, but I needed to do impact. It came at a very interesting time, and this is something I don't think I put out there, but in 2022, I got diagnosed with lupus, and it was a very life-threatening thing for me to learn. And I asked myself, what have I done? If today is a day that I collapsed and gone, what have I done to instill that impact? And will I just say that I'm sulking and not doing anything? And so I made a deliberate decision that I was going to go back and reflect and do what I've felt I need to do, use my background to create an organization that supports anyone who wants to start something. And at that point in time, I knew law and I knew IP.
Yeah.
And my journey started with offering legal support for the startups. And along the way, I realized that that's not what startups needed.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes to building startups.
Yeah.
So I had to unlearn, relearn, and come back and build what we now have, Anza Village, which is a community of at least 1,000 founders that offers this level of support where we bring in mentors, we organize Anza Nights, and bring that startup that you don't generally not jump onto fund, but who needs to learn that journey for them to get that funding or get that support. And of course, along the way, we were able to create other things, the academy, which I will talk about in a bit.
Yeah.
But my journey came from what are you doing with your life, and what are you doing to help somebody with the God-given gifts that you have? What can you do to transform something out there? Yeah,
I really love that. And let me just take you a little bit back to that story for Safaricom.
Yeah.
So when you joined Safaricom, were you joining as a techie? Did you have any techie background? I think you just said you were a lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay, so just talk a little bit about that. How did you get in as a lawyer and then now start pivoting to the technical side of life?
Obviously, before I joined Safaricom, my assumption of Safaricom was going to be we do calls, SMSs, and M-Pesa, right?
Yeah.
Which was what drew me. It was a big organization, and so joining as an intern because you need an internship.
Yeah.
And you've fought over so many other people, and you've been selected, and it felt nice. And right in, I realized, I think within my first week, that that is just a tip of the iceberg of the level of technology that lies into it. Now, an interesting bit happened. Of course, my line manager tells me to join a meeting, and the entire discussion is in technical jargons that I do not understand.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And I had to train myself to be able to come in and support that. And I think I went into a rabbit hole, and ordinarily law and technology don't match. It's like water and oil.
Yeah.
And I believe in breaking barriers. So I had to learn the technology jargon.
Yes.
And my internship that was supposed to be a 3-month internship turned into 2-year job.
Wow.
Because I took it upon myself to just learn and gel into this space and come in, and I became a better legal tech person because of that initial background and because of the exposure of the different aspects of technology. And at that point in time, M-Pesa was the best performing fintech, and it still is, but that was when fintechs were coming in. And so you also get to understand the processes of putting together the regulatory aspect that goes into it and whatnot. Yeah.
No, that's really awesome. And it's so interesting that you thought to upskill yourself, learn something new just because of stuff that you had and I think sometimes we get afraid, even I get afraid, when I enter a new space and then I'm hearing things that I don't understand. So I think the lesson here is, instead of withdrawing and staying back, it's always good to just lean into the newness and start learning and upskill yourself. So how did you do it? Did you go to YouTube? How did you start learning this whole tech thing? What did you do?
Yeah, well,
did you buy books? I don't
Yeah.
know. What did you do?
Actually, I think at the point in time, I started by reading the contracts around it. So we used to do a lot of contracts, terms and conditions, and all that. YouTube wasn't, again, I'm a millennial.
YouTube was the school of YouTube wasn't yet there.
It was there, but it wasn't such a thing that you quickly jump into YouTube. I think it's not, right now it's second nature that you jump into YouTube or ChatGPT and you learn. At that point in time is you grasp what is around you and you learn. I needed to, so I dug into so many documents. I would stay in the office up until 7, 8, my initial months. And try as much as possible to learn. So if I'm supporting this, for instance, I'm supporting enterprise business and they're offering fixed data services, then I need to actually go in and understand all that. Then I learned at that point in time there was something called contract and commercial manager, because we did a platform that allowed us to do contracts, and at that point in time we used to do contract with an SLA of 7 days, and I felt I had so many customers, and my customers were internal, and they're complaining that contracts are taking too long. So of course I had to reduce that to at least 24 to 48 hours SLA, which meant now I had to do. So I did a course with the University of Southampton. Again, this is this for me was, if I cannot do very well and if I'm not the best at what I'm doing, my internship is gone. I am a fly on the wall that nobody will remember. But if I get myself and adjust, then I become the person who, it will be no brainer. You're gonna keep me around, and I don't know about. I do know in life you need to have something that motivates you. Yeah. For me, I think my biggest motivating factor at that point in time is I'm on my final year in uni, and so if I don't get a job at the end of the day, I'm going to go back to the village. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I need to make sure that I stick around, but at the same time, I grow and progress. So it was a question of hunger, intention, and just knowing what can you actually do that other people would ordinarily not do. So how do you set yourself apart from every other person who comes in and does an internship and leave?
I love the drive and the push that you put yourself through. And I'm guessing it continues right now into where you are. It does? It so does. What's your current motivation to keep doing what you're doing?
I think it's the fear of someday I'm not going to be here.
Yes.
And what will I have done?
Okay. So legacy, impact?
Legacy and impact I must say, is my biggest motivation. Okay. I do believe in pushing a brand. Like, my goal for Anza has always been, I don't want Anza to be associated with Wangechi. I want Anza the brand, so that someday I'm not there, but the organization grows and the impact goes on. I read a quote somewhere, I think I was young, and it stuck with me when they said, the graveyard is filled with 95% of the potential. Yes. And it made me feel fear is the biggest reason as to why we don't do things, is why we don't want to change, is why we don't want to pivot. We are afraid of the risk. Yes. Now, if you just took that jump and did something that ordinarily you're afraid of, but just do it anyway, then you're a step closer to fulfilling your life potential and your life purpose. And for me, the question is, every single day that I wake up and I'm doing something, is it fulfilling my life purpose or not? Yeah.
I love that. That's really cool. When I was at IBM, Ginny Rometty was the CEO, which it was quite a few years ago. And I always remember that she used to give us this quote, and she used to say this, that growth and comfort cannot coexist. So you either have to choose the discomfort and move up, or you choose to stay where you're at and stagnate, which is really scary. So I really like what you're saying. Sure. All right. So what's your future view looking like, or your vision, especially around Anza Village and the mission that you're on?
Yeah. So I think, again, the journey keeps growing. As I mentioned, initially we came in and we knew, again, we're offering legal services and this is sufficient. And then we moved on to, we're doing something with startups, and that work is doing well. We launched the academy called the Anza Grow Academy. We're now on our 5th cohort.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
And then I did understand, and it now brings us closer to the work we've been doing. Within the universities, there's a lot that goes in towards building an innovator from the word go. And an innovator for me is not necessarily going to be the person who goes in and decides to start a startup. I mean, startups is just one of that vehicle. But I have this dream, and I know that we're trying to do that within Anza, where we have a very young demographic. And the ways in which we need to be able to help this young demographic comes in.
Yeah.
And one of them is obviously jobs.
Yeah.
But realistically speaking, it's not enough. So let's accept that. The next avenue then is going to be entrepreneurship. And within entrepreneurship, you can either be an SME or a startup.
Yeah.
The journey again is yours. The third one is on creative economy. I think we undervalue the role of the creative economy, and it's rising. And I think we need to find a way that lifts this. And the fourth one obviously is on sports.
Yes.
And we're not doing what needs to be done for the sports in this, and especially because we're talking about 5 million jobs. But have we looked at what these 4 aspects have to play? Because it can't just be go and get employed in a corporate. So that's what we're talking about. We have to innovate the way we do things. We have to innovate our creative economy, our sports, even the way SMEs run things, to allow the median 19 years to actually get it. And it's 19 today, it's gonna keep getting lower.
Yeah.
And what Anza is trying to do is get ahead of that, where our mission is to make sure that the young people are innovative and they're getting innovation across the different spheres. And capacity building and startups is just one of them. I think we're just getting started. We are launching something called Afro Innovation Festival, which is geared towards celebrating innovation in both the STEM and the creative economy, and that is something that's supposed to be a rotating festival. We'll also be releasing something called Innovating in Africa that plays a key pivotal role in the different factors that affect innovation, from government to policies to funds to the idea itself, to the founder themselves, to the role the education is playing, to the ecosystem and understanding what the ecosystem does. So our role is to spotlight this, is to celebrate these and to push it out there. And it's not our journey alone. And we have to collaborate with the right people, and one of them being the Kenya National Innovation Agency within a Kenyan context. But we're even going Africa. We have universities that are good partners. We have development partners that are good partner, and we have others. And one of the things that I'm proud of is the fact that we are also at a national level looking at having a startup school that allows people just understand the journey of a startup, what's the ins and outs of investment readiness and creating a startup and taking it to the market and even scaling it outside there. So those are some of the things that I'm proud of, and I'm looking forward to them. I'm looking forward to people embracing, and government embracing, and policy players embracing this. I'm really excited for the day we have a startup bill. And we can firmly say this is ours, of course, with it. Whichever fence you lie on, how good is it and how bad is it, I think we are ripe for it. And we need to remind ourselves that we're the Silicon Savannah, and we need to act like it.
Yeah, and I think just having it there firstly will be so helpful.
Yeah.
And then we can always build on it.
True. And
always change it as we need and as we grow.
I agree.
I love it. Thank you so much, Wangechi. This has been a really good conversation.
Yeah.
I think there's quite a bit of innovation that actually needs to happen around our mindsets as well. And I like what you're saying about the young people thinking about getting into entrepreneurship versus what the job market is. And I still suspect that there's lots of young people as well who just naturally, even at 16, 15 or 14 even, or even much younger, have that entrepreneurial bug.
Yeah.
But sometimes culture or systems or whatever it is pushing them to go into the job market or the corporate market. And there's nothing wrong with that. Only that it will, you know, this is likely where new jobs are going to come from. This is likely where solutions for some of Africa's biggest problems is going to come from. So I'm really happy to hear about the work that Anza Village is doing. And we look forward to hearing more.
And I like that you mentioned the 14-year-olds. Because we did a hackathon last year with Riara University and Technical University of Kenya. And along the way, on our planning, we got a request to have high schoolers join. And we ended up making it a university high school edition. And boy, was I surprised. And were we all surprised. We got bold, young, 14, 15, 13-year-olds come back, come create prototypes, working prototypes within 72 hours of a hackathon. And I must commend what M-Pesa Foundation is doing, because, I mean, they were blowing our minds. They were doing better than some of the university students that we have. And I'm not, no offense to them, but for me, it's a testament to the fact that innovation doesn't start at 18. And we need to remind ourselves and remember when we were starting, I don't know about your time or your experience, but I remember in our experience, you got into the job market at 18, right? But there are countries where you're expected to start doing something, even if it's work outside school at the age of 10, 11, 12, right? And your mindset, especially if you go to the US and Europe, your mindset is already shifted early, that you're going to do some job, that you're going to earn a pocket money and it will do something, right? And when we start now pulling in innovation and an entrepreneurship mindset within our minds as early as 9, 7-year-olds, 10 years old, then what we're trying to do and what we achieve is the next generation becomes better equipped for to take over and to create. And the whole understanding of entrepreneurship, I always like to clarify, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna go and start a job. Because I could work in an organization and transform the way the organization is working. Now I can become the entrepreneur.
Correct.
And pivoting is a good example. I always say if Kodak had changed their ways when they should have changed their ways and caught onto it, and in actual sense, the initial innovation of digital cameras started there and they chose not to. I mean, if you look at Amazon Web, it's a branch of AWS, right?
Yes.
It's a branch of Amazon, right? Yeah. And so entrepreneurship means a lot. Entrepreneurship understanding means a lot, even for the company, so that if I am employed today at Google or I'm employed at Safaricom today, then I can go there and just start something within and grow. So don't take entrepreneurship mindset to mean I need 2, 3, 500K to go start a business. There's the skills that people get, but we also need to remember that those jobs are shrinking and people need to open up jobs and they need the confidence. Of course, there are other factors that we always have to consider, but we need to think through how can we build businesses that transform Africa and move ourselves from being a consumer economy to being a producer economy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more, Wangechi. I think even for organizations and corporates, the ones that actually encourage entrepreneurship thinking, innovative thinking, and they have structures and systems that actually formally bring that element into their businesses are the ones that are sustainable in the long run. So I couldn't agree more. Let me bring this to a close. Thank you so much, Wangechi Wahome. Thank you for joining us today. I will ask that we put all the details for Anza Village wherever this is posted, so that any startup, any young person, or even older person, I think even at our age, I always like to say we can still be creative and start new things and solve problems. Anyone who wants to find you can find you and get to know a little bit more about what you do and the programs that you're running. So thank you so very much, and thank you to everyone for watching and for listening to this. Asanteni.